Hi, Dr. Don. This is my presentation on how climate change affects agriculture. My name is William Taylor. Now, by definition, climate change is the long-term shifts in weather patterns and temperature. And based on my research, I've identified 6 aspects of climate change that really affect agriculture. The first, precipitation. Now, on this side of climate change, there are 2 different aspects to it. So we have increased precipitation, which can lead to widespread flooding, and this heavy rainfall can wipe out entire crops. Now, with decreased precipitation, this can lead to droughts. And as a plant, you need a lot of moisture in the soil to survive. So little to no moisture can be very bad. There's also tropical cyclones, which are just very large storms, and depending on the region, they can benefit or destroy crops. The second is temperature. To put it in perspective, since 1986, average temperatures in the U.S. during different seasons have increased. In the winter, 3 degrees, the spring, 2 degrees, and the summer, 1.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, I know this doesn't seem like a lot, but in nature, big changes can have drastic results. There's also heat waves, which is just rapidly increasing heat during different seasons. And these are occurring 3 times more often than in the 1960s than they are now. Longer, hotter growing seasons lead to increased irrigation. All irrigation means is just like watering the crops. And then more insects, weeds, and diseases. So these are just pests to plants and just hinder their growth, which is not good for them. With wildfires, this is the third aspect of climate change that really affects agriculture. Within the United States, the land burned by the wildfires has increased over the past 40 years. Now, in this picture, you can see this man, and he's doing his best to try to limit the spread of this wildfire because there's both a threat and a benefit to wildfires on agriculture. With the threat, they can obviously burn or injure the crops and can make the air quality worse with the ozone levels. But a benefit to wildfires is that they kill insects and disease because the insects and diseases can't thrive where it's so hot. With water pollution, this is the fourth aspect of climate change that affects agriculture. So because of the increased rainfall, soil quality can be affected due to soil erosion and depleted soil nutrients. Now, the biggest part of water pollution is probably runoff, and it's dangerous because the chemicals that are used to fertilize the crops can enter bodies of water. And this can cause the environment around it to be affected negatively, and the environment around it and the agriculture and crops are all connected. The fifth aspect of climate change that affects agriculture is air pollution. Now, the main thing of air pollution that is negatively affected by climate change is the ground level ozone. In this picture, you can see that there's a wildfire that is increasing the ground level ozone, which can be harmful to the plants and the soil because it's hard for sunlight to get through this ozone, which can reduce the cycles of photosynthesis, which leads to slower growth and higher sensitivity to disease. And this can result in premature crop death. Now, the final aspect of climate change that affects agriculture is the frost-free season. And what I mean by this is farmers have different seasons that they can grow crops. And when it's cold, they can't grow the agriculture that they want to grow. So climate change obviously affects the length of the growing season, whether that's making it longer or shorter. And just like precipitation, there are positives and negatives to this aspect of climate change. So with the positives, there is a longer season of growth, meaning the warmer temperatures can allow for more crop yield. But if it's too warm, that will cause less crop yield, which can be a negative. This also allows farmers to be able to grow more crops and to have more harvest, which can, again, increase their crop yield. With the negative sides of the increased frost or the decreased frost-free season, that encourages invasive species because they are still able to thrive with all those agricultural crops. And then there's also an increased demand for irrigation, which is more water. These are my reference sites that I use throughout all my research, and that's the end of my presentation. Thank you, Dr. Don, and have a great rest of your day.